Hey folks, welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for being a part of my new podcast adventure. My name is Sean Blight. I am at CDN Racing Tours on all your major social media platforms, easy for me to say. And I'm a raceaholic. The world needs more racing podcasts, and that's why I'm here. I'm not saying there's a shortage or anything, I just don't think there's enough, so there's always room for another podcast. And yes, I'm Canadian. Yes, I want to focus on Canadian racing, both the on the track and off the track stories, but also Canadians making a name for themselves south of the border. There's a lot of them right now, and I want to cover their progress and hopefully get some of them on the show in the coming weeks. I also want to focus on the racing community in the northeastern United States. I spent a lot of my time there going to races, talking to drivers and fans in that area, and they don't get enough attention either, and I want to focus on them and tell their stories. So what's this show about? Well, essentially, I want to bring out the personalities in our sport. I want to showcase people that might fly under the radar and talk about their stories. Don't get me wrong, I want to talk about some of the big names too, and I want to get some big names on this show. But a bulk of my time will be spent on the unsung heroes, the hometown heroes, the people that really drive motorsports in our region, because without them, we don't have racing in our region, and their stories need to be told. I also want to pay tribute to a couple of men who have devoted their lives to covering motorsports in this country. Norris MacDonald, who we lost a couple of months ago, was a longtime friend of the Canadian racing journalism community. I grew up reading Norm's columns and watching his broadcasts from the infield and starting grid at Oswego Speedway. And for those that know Norris or have been around him, his presence was a yearly tradition every Labor Day weekend at the Budweiser International Classic, and Norm is already missed. I also want to mention Eric Thomas, whose show Raceline Radio was a staple for so many Canadians for decades. Eric is still with us, and I would love to get him on the show at some point, although I know I would run out of time, and we'd probably have to do multiple shows just to cover his career. But his show is not with us, and it's a shame. It's guys like these that have really helped tell the story of Canadian racing and Canadian race car drivers through the years, helped us stay informed before the internet made it so convenient. So it's in their honor and legacy that I want to continue the tradition of covering Canadian racing, even though I know I won't reach the same pinnacle or audience as those guys. I want to give it a shot. So this is for Norris especially, who we just lost recently. So with all that being said, I had an opportunity to sit down with Alex Brown recently. And for those of you who may not know who Alex is, she is a brand ambassador for VP Racing Fuels and now the High Limit Sprint Car Series. And recently, Kendra Jacobs, who is also involved with the High Limit Sprint Car Series, received some pretty disgusting emails that have outraged the racing community and sparked tough conversations about the abuse that women have faced and continue to face in the racing community. As I said to Alex during our interview, motorsports is at a point where you go to a racetrack and you will see more women fans, track personnel, drivers, crew members. You'll see more women involved in racing now than you ever have, and it's terrific. It's amazing. We need more diversity in our sport. But unfortunately, not all of the abuse has stopped. And although you're not, unfortunately, going to get rid of it forever, or you're not going to get rid of all of it, there's important conversations that need to be had, and I wanted to at least do my part in taking part in being a part of the solution and not the problem. So Alex is kind enough to join me, and we'll get to that interview right now. I hope you enjoy it. All right. I am happy to be joined by Alex Brown. Alex is a brand ambassador for VP Racing Fuels and High Limit. Alex, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. For those who might not know you or know you well, I just want to start with some background, is where you grew up, how you got interested in racing, and tell me a bit about how you got to where you're at today.
Okay. I grew up in a really small town, Messina, New York. It's pretty much Canada. So a lot of people ask me where you're from. Instead of explaining where it is, you just say Canada. Um, I got into racing at a very young age. My dad was a race car driver. He raced mod lights. And I mean, every weekend we were at the track. And so after I graduated high school is when I really started to get like involved with it more. And a lot of my friends were doing it. And so I never really thought I would, revolve my entire life around race cars, but here we are at 23. And for some reason, my 5-year plan I had in high school didn't really work out. So
I can relate.
and now we're,
I think a lot of us can.
I started off by doing like social media for different modified teams over in the Northeast. And then actually one of my best friends, Haley, she took over the role as one of the VP brand ambassadors, being the VP model for the Northeast. And I think she was doing it for about a month, and she begged me. She's like, you should do it with me. You should do it with me. And I said, there's no way. There's absolutely no way I'm doing that. I'm just not doing it. Well, I don't know what happened, but I ended up putting the suit on, and I actually enjoyed it a lot. And so it kind of stuck ever since then. And that opened up um, a, a lot of doors for me. I mean, it's crazy. I tell people this all the time. Like, I put that VP suit on and everything, like, my entire life changed. My perspectives on different things changed. Like, it's just funny to look back and think I didn't want to do it, but now I'm grateful I did it, because now it opened 100 other doors. So awesome. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then it was over the off season, I knew Justin was going to end up racing with High Limit, and I knew we were going on the road full time. We talked about it. I wanted to go on the road full time, but I'm the type of person that can't just sit around. I cannot sit still for the life of me. I have to be doing something constantly. And so I got in contact with, Kendra and all them over at High Limit, and they were awesome. They're like, we could actually we could use you. Like, this could be good for both of us. And so then I started doing some talking with them. We didn't really know what I was going to be doing, but I mean, obviously I guess I'm on Flow Racing now. I was so scared at first. I was like, there's no way that I can do this. Like, there's no way I can go on a live broadcast and talk in front of people. There's no way. I like to talk, but not like that. Then I did it once, and then I did it the second time. First time I was nervous. Second time I was like, I think I can do something with this. If I work a little harder, I think this could work out.
It was don't mean to cut you off or anything, but I met you at Charlotte last year. You were with VP, and and then fast forward to High Limit, and you just appeared on Flow, and I'm like, I know her. This is, and I was like, I was pretty pumped for you. That was really cool to see you on there.
Well, it was funny because I didn't tell a lot of people I was going to be doing it, because it wasn't confirmed I was going to be on the screen. And I'm telling you, the first time I did it, I came back, and I remember I walked from the front stretch to the infield because we were getting ready for the feature at the time. My phone was blowing up with texts from so many different people. I had missed phone calls. They're like, you didn't even tell anyone. I said, well, surprise, I didn't really know. But yeah, it was cool. I liked it a lot.
And specifically what you're doing, and I when I heard High Limit was doing this, I thought this was so cool. Like, what a great idea. So and you can maybe explain it better than I can, but if you purchase advanced tickets online, I guess, or over the phone, you're basically entered into a draw where you can be out on the front stretch. You want to tell people maybe about that? Because it's really cool. And I think more series are going to do something like this.
Yeah, the Durst Dice Roll is really cool. It gives fans an opportunity, like, hey, you buy like a pre-sale ticket to this event, like you have a chance to be drawn, like your name to be drawn for a chance to win extra money. And it's not even just like it's a couple $100, like you could win a lot of money. And, so I'll explain it to the people that don't know how the dice roll works, but we roll the dice. If it rolls, 7, the fan gets to roll it. Whoever the driver is that starts in that position, if they win, like if they can work their way up through the field to win, the driver and the fan will split $7,000. Same thing if it was 8th place, 8,000, so on. So it's really cool because a lot of the fans don't realize that at first, and then they're like, oh, like I could win. And I like to ask them, like, before they roll the dice, who's your driver? Who's your pick to win tonight? Because they'll say someone, and then you roll the dice, and it's a different driver, and they're like, never mind. Like,
Exactly.
I want to change my pick for tonight. And so it's cool. And you get to meet, I've only done it twice, but both times, it was cool people that you get to meet.
Right.
And, and a lot of these fans you meet, most of them really haven't, some of them they haven't been to a sprint car race. They have no clue what they're getting into, but they're like, oh, like I can win extra money.
Right.
Like, yeah, but this is high limit, but like we're high rollers here. We're all about the gamble. It's good. So it's
very cool initiative. It's great for the series because you're getting people to purchase tickets in advance, so that people are going to come, and it's great for the fans to gives them an extra incentive to not just buy them at the gate when they show up. So I think that's really cool. And a little bit ago you mentioned Kendra Jacobs, and this is primarily why I wanted to have you on and start a discussion about women in racing, women in motorsports, and kind of the obstacles and the prejudices that you ladies deal with a lot, unfortunately. And I wanted to do something where I don't know how I can help, but I figure at least a discussion, and that might open some people's eyes. So for those who don't know, Kendra, can you just describe what her role is, maybe with High Limit, and then maybe because we all saw the posts from High Limit and the World of Outlaws. It was a joint yet separate statement. So it was nice to see the two series come together. But could you maybe talk a bit about Kendra, her role, and then maybe shed some light on what happened? And you don't have to be overly specific if you don't want to.
Yeah. It's funny. So every time I talk about Kendra, excuse my language, but all I can tell people is she's badass. She's badass.
Oh,
she has my
title.
I made my own title for her. She is the chaos coordinator. Like, I swear, like she like has her shit together 24/7. Like she's on top of it. You see her at the track, she's running around, she is busting her butt to get shit done. Like, if I ever needed something, if I have a question, I go to her. She always has the answer for me. You know what I mean? And to see, the email that she received, it was kind of heartbreaking because like I've been personally in a situation a couple times where you get these really rude people that say things to you, and it sucks because you think you're doing, you're doing a good job at what you do, but then you have these people, a lot of people are like, just ignore it. But when are we, if we can just keep ignoring it, it's still obviously happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for her to put that out there and, to get attention from it was very brave of her. And I'm glad she did it. I'm very glad she did it. And I think a lot of people needed to see it because it's just uncalled for. And, women can work just as hard and be successful. And I think I kind of look at it in different ways because that person that sent the email took the time out of their day to send that email. Right. Like, that's like, do you not have anything better to do?
Right.
You know what I mean? And like I said, like I've had some personal experiences where I'm like, most of the time I can let it go. Most of the time I'm like, whatever. But then eventually you're like, when is it going to be enough? Like, at the end of the day, we all want to do the same thing. We all want to go racing. We all want to be successful. Why are we fighting against each other? We should be like supporting each other, building each other up. But again, we're in an industry where it's about competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that, but it is. but I'm glad that she put it out there so other people, like, it raised awareness. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Right.
this is what's going on behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that with people seeing it, it stops. I see a lot of young girls at the racetrack. These girls, I was just in at the NHRA race last weekend in Gainesville working for VP. And I met this, like, I think she was like 11 years old, and she's going around doing podcasts on her own. 11 years old. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And then that thing happened with Kendra, and I'm like, imagine that little girl's parents are going to be like, oh, that's like the world that we're raising our kids to be around. You don't want that. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it just makes me think of like the young ones that are up and coming, and then obviously like successful women like Kendra that is dealing with it. It's just uncalled for.
Yeah. I'm not to make myself sound old, but I am kicking 40's door down now. And I've been, my great uncle used to own a speedway here just north of Toronto. And so
Mhm.
I've been going to races since I was 2 or 3 years old. And I can promise that I see more women, girls in the stands involved in racing, either as promoters, track owners, drivers, in the crew. I see more of that now than I ever have. And it's awesome. And
Mhm.
when you see stuff like that, it's just a reminder, a sad reminder of how much further we still need to go as a society. And you see it with,
Yeah.
as a Canadian, hockey seems to be going through the same kind of reckoning right now. And it really is sad. You see what Bubba Wallace has had to deal with. You see what women still have to deal with. It's just a sad reminder of unfortunately, of how much further we have to go.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And what kind of solutions do you think? I mean, unfortunately, social media has made it easy for people to hide behind anonymous accounts and say things to people that they would never say to someone's face. Other than, I started this kind of discussion just as a reminder to people to just be nice. Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And I just want to share that message as much as I can because I love racing and I want it to be a better place.
Mhm. I when I was younger in the racing world, you would deal with like a lot of bullshit at the track, and I would always sit there and dwell on it and overthink everything. And I'm grateful now that I'm at the age where, like, I say some cuss words back and then I'm good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it sucks because you got to grow thicker skin around this like environment and this society. But in order to succeed, you have to,
Mm-hmm.
unless, because I don't think people are ever going to stop. I don't think it's ever going to stop.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we could sit here and talk about solutions, but oh, there's always going to be that one person. There's
Yeah.
always going to be that one person that just like, it, yeah. I mean, I think it's how we handle it,
Mm-hmm.
and address it to other people, and then from there we'll see what happens.
And I am glad also that Kendra shared it because I did read some of the comments saying just ignore it. This one person shouldn't be, and it's no, like that. This needs to be out there and it needs to be talked about because, like you said, if you don't talk about it, it's not going to change.
Mm-hmm. It was like I was explaining this to one of my friends the other day. I was like, the women that are in motorsports, if people really knew what we went through, like, it would blow their mind. It would blow their mind.
Hmm.
Like, we do. Granted, I mean, men do get, oh,
Hmm.
but it's just hard. It is hard being a woman in motorsports. It is hard. And they're like, you get the people on like Twitter that are like, oh, well, you're a girl, so you get more opportunities. No, I got more opportunities because I worked my fucking ass off.
Hmm.
Excuse my language,
You're
sorry.
good. You're good. You're good.
But like, that's just how it goes.
Hmm.
So I'm hoping now that it's out there and people addressed it, and I know it was on every single social media and people were talking about it. I think I seen more positive comments than I did, hate comments.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, that changes a lot of things. So, and it was cool to see, both series come together and support women like that,
Yeah, for sure.
despite the circumstances.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I really did appreciate that. And like you
mhm.
said, most of the comments were positive and even the just ignore it people, I think they mean well. but that it is something that needs to be discussed. So, and again, I'm appreciate you coming on and telling us your story as well.
Mm-hmm. And the same people that are like, just ignore it, they only seen one comment we get, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not the 30 others that we have behind us, you know what I mean? So that's why it's them be like, just ignore it, like shrug it off, blow it off. And you're like, no.
And and the just ignore it people, I mean, if it was your daughter or your wife or your sister or your mother, you wouldn't ignore it. So
if it was my kid,
if we take nothing out of this, nothing else out of this, be nice, don't ignore it, call it out. I think that should be the, at least a step in the right direction.
Absolutely, I agree, 100%.
So on to a happier note, if you'd like. So how is the season going? I mean, you're working with a brand new series. You're traveling. I'm not sure how much. I know Justin's kind of did in the All-Stars thing before, but you guys are like literally now touring nationally.
Yeah.
So talk about brand new series. Everything's brand new. Any hiccups? Any like how are things going with High Limit?
Well, so last year he ran a true outlaw schedule, so we were kind of like, going after whatever races we wanted to go after. And then this year is when we signed on full time with High Limit. And I mean, so far it's been good, knock on wood. He's had good results. I'm learning something new every day with High Limit, and it's how do I explain this? Like, I worked a lot of 9-to-5 jobs and part-time jobs when I was in college, and you meet friends at your jobs that are just like, whatever. It's just a job. No one wants to go to their job.
Yeah.
And I used to go to the racetrack for fun, but now I go to it as a job. And it's crazy because it is fun. Like, I am excited to go to the racetrack. I'm excited to go to work. Like, it's a whole different ball game. Like, the environment, and like you're on the road and you're traveling and you're in hotel rooms constantly and just 9-hour trips every other week. Like, it's crazy. Like, I would have never thought in a million years this is what I'd be doing, but I'm doing it. I tell you what, though, last year was kind of like my, first experience on the road. It wasn't the full season, but it was. I was like, I'm not built for this. Nope, I'm not built for it. I'm not going on the road. This is just way too hard. Like, not happening. And then the off season happened. It was like a week after like Charlotte, and I was like, man, I wish I was on the road. And I was like, yeah, maybe I am built for the road.
Yeah.
So then we went to Florida, and I mean, it was great. I mean, the performance was good. It was a lot better than where we, what we've had in the past. And I really think this year's going to be a good year. Especially with both of us, it's going to be, as long as we can stick together as a team, it's going to be pretty good. And I'm really excited to see what High Limit can do. I'm excited to see, they've got a lot of things in place, and despite what everyone says on the internet about them, whatever, I really think this is going to get good. I really do. Like, it's going to get good.
It's off to a great start. I mean, as far as the racing goes, there's a ton of talent. I was fully expecting Brad and Kyle to just dominate the first few races, and that has not happened. And it's been very surprising.
I think it makes it more interesting. I really do. Because people are like waiting for it. Because now they're like, like they're going to take the top soon. They're going to take the top of the charts soon. And then you're like, oh, but when's it going to happen? And I really think it's going to keep fans coming to these races. Because, there's Brad and Kyle have a lot of fans. Everyone knows that. And I think now that like other guys are giving them like kind of a challenge, these fans are like, okay, now this is interesting to watch. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm excited.
I am
too. We haven't raced in like 3 weeks, so I'm so excited.
I'm excited to finally get to one this weekend. I've been canceled with the weather here in the Northeast, so I'm finally going to get to Port Royal for some big block stuff this weekend. So I'm pumped for that. So
yeah, I forgot they're in Port Royal. We're actually we leave tomorrow. We're going to be in PA, I think, for 3 weeks. We're running a couple races down there in Shawn Michaels' car, in the 20 car.
Excellent.
So that'll be fun. We'll go to Lincoln and the Grove, and Lincoln and the Grove next weekend, perhaps. It'll be fun. I love Pennsylvania. I will say one thing about Pennsylvania. They have the best sprint car fans.
I absolutely do.
Oh my God, they're awesome.
And I've actually got Easter weekend. I've actually got Williams Grove and Lincoln or Port on my schedule. So I'll probably see you there.
Cool.
What's the next event for High Limit? Just so
I think it's April 9th. We're in Texas. I can't remember which one's the first one off the top of my head. I know we're in Texas for like 3 weeks, and they're like, you really don't get a break. They're kind of like back to back. I know we go to like Red Dirt and gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't remember. I'll send you that as soon as I know.
All right, sounds good. And
my-
just and before I let you go, anything you want to plug? Any social media accounts? Where can people find you?
I mean, I have Facebook, Instagram, x.alexbrown.
And I'll put it in the comments as well. Really appreciate you coming on, telling your story. And again, I met you at Charlotte and doing this today. Let me just say, racing is a better place with people like you in it. So if you see Alex at the racetrack, go say hi. She's awesome.
Yes, please say hi. I promise. We can take pictures and we can say hi and we can talk. I promise.
Perfect. Sounds good. So hopefully I'll see you in a couple of weeks then down in PA, and we can have a cold beverage or something.
Yeah, I love cold beverages.
All right, Alex, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. Little good and bad involved there, but I think it's an important conversation that we had to have, and I'm glad that Alex could join me. Really wanted to have her on for my first episode, and in the coming weeks and months, I hope to be speaking with some more women in the racing industry and get them to share their stories and perspectives and highlight some of the talented women photographers, drivers, promoters, just anyone that's involved in the industry. So if you know of anyone or if you want to come on, please hit me up. My socials, my email will be attached at the bottom. As for me, like I said with Alex, I'm off to Port Royal Speedway this weekend. The weather looks good, so I'm going to check out the Short Track Super Series 50,000 to win. So if you see me there, come say hi. That would be awesome. Love to meet you. And like I said before, if you've got any suggestions, some story ideas, guest ideas, if you want to be a part of the show, I'd love to hear from you. Mostly I'm going to be sticking with kind of racing news and stories in the Northeast, but I'm open to whatever. I want to make this podcast as interesting and viewer friendly as possible. So if you've got any suggestions, hit me up. Again, at CDN Racing Tours. Tune in next week. See you then.